Sean P. Diddy Combs, from bad boy to broken man, as he waits in a federal detention center to face his moment of truth. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, Sean P. Diddy Combs' current legal posture, and the breakdown in the facts are basically, like I said, when you deal with this situation, we're dealing with somebody whose moniker, if you remember back when Bad Boy was popping and you know, Biggie and all of those things, Biggie was still alive. Diddy's moniker was can't stop, won't stop. But now Diddy's in a position where he's trying to stop a federal judge from locking him away for a period of time, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. We all saw the video, the apology video that he made to Cassie after the Intercontinental video, hotel video was shown. He talked about rehab and therapy and all of those things, right? Sean P. Diddy Combs is officially headed for sentencing on October 3rd, 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody knows how much time he'll get. He can get anywhere from, they say, 10 to 20 years to time served, to probation. We don't know. Nobody knows for sure. There's a lot of speculation going around, but the one thing is for sure is that court date on October 3rd, 2025, ladies and gentlemen. I think for most people who don't understand, I think the judge leaving Diddy in jail, I think benefits Diddy more than it doesn't, because it goes into a time served situation. I think he'll be locked up damn near for almost a year, if you will. And so once again, being convicted of the Mann Act, 2 counts of the Mann Act only, and this being his first offense, I think the judge, Diddy, has shown without any kind of, recent filing of another motion, trying to get out on bail and things like that, understanding that the judge has his fate in his hands. And so with that being said, I think Diddy staying in jail, not that he wanted to, I think it benefits him in the long run, if you will. Just like Mark Garagos was saying, and Mark Agnafalo, his attorneys, was saying in regards to that, right? But Diddy is headed for sentencing on October 3rd, 2025. His legal team is scrambling, right, to convince the court that he's no longer a bad boy for life, but a man changed by time, therapy, and reflection. And hopefully that's so. Like I said, I don't think nobody, under the situation, I wouldn't say nobody, let's be clear. But under the situation, and this being Diddy's first time, a conviction, really being involved in any kind of trouble that he was convicted of, ladies and gentlemen, that he was convicted of. We know about the nightclub shooting back in the day, that he would somehow get a lenient sentence. Like I said, once again, a lot of people are looking at what he wasn't convicted of and what they felt like he should have been convicted of, and thinking that one should be punished in being convicted for the Mann Act for all of the other things that he wasn't convicted of. You see what I'm saying? And they only feel that way because of whatever they're feeling. But that's simply not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. There are sentencing guidelines. There are also mandatory minimums, which this situation involving Diddy, it's not applicable to his case as far as a mandatory minimum, but there are sentencing guidelines. And the judge basically has free reign as to whether he wants to sentence them to jail time, time served, probation, or whatever have you, community service, or whatever have you, ladies and gentlemen. So, mark your calendars, October 3rd, 2025, right? Well, we're going to see what happens, right? That's the day Sean will stand before a federal judge and face the consequences of a years-long storm of civil lawsuits, federal raids, and disturbing allegations, right? We know all of the charges, the sex trafficking and all the coercion, the allegations, and like I said, Diddy stood with his lawyers, his 8 attorneys, and basically they conquered, as no other person has conquered, dealing with the federal government, basically winning the case and dealing with the most serious charges, ladies and gentlemen, right? Like I said, when you're convicted, and I wouldn't say found guilty, they say found guilty, but in the federal guidelines, it's like once you've been sentenced, you've been convicted, right? You're now a convict. Right now, Diddy's been found guilty, right? But once he's convicted and given a sentence, or whatever that sentence is, then now he becomes a felon, if you will, right? Right now, Diddy's still not, he's been convicted, but he's been found guilty, but he hasn't been convicted. So right now he's not a felon. But once the judge says, boom, he hands down the sentence, whatever that sentence is, Diddy will then become a felon, right? And so yeah, the prosecutors are basically pursuing a sentence under, basically parallel statutes, if you want to be perfectly honest. They said that they're trying to get Diddy at least anywhere from 14 years. Like I said, some people are saying 10 years, some people are saying 20 years. But like I said, we truly, honestly don't know, because there is no mandatory minimum, and it's at the judge's discretion, if you will, right? I don't think, that there's a strategy, but I think there should be a strategy to rebrand, for Diddy to show remorse and redemption, that he's redeemed himself, right? But Diddy's team is basically rolling out what's being called an image reversal campaign. I think that's a very important thing, if you will. I can't really see how much that's going to work by the fact that he's in prison. But they were talking about the sweaters, the sweaters, I guess the Bill Cosby look on the Cosby Show that Diddy was coming up in the courtroom with every day. They're basically saying somehow that worked in his favor and with his image, right? So I think some of the things that they might present to the court is a psychological evaluation, ladies and gentlemen. So while Diddy's, sitting in prison, he can be seen by a doctor. You understand what I'm saying? And the doctor, have a psychological evaluation done, citing narcissistic overcompensation, right? Driven by early trauma, if you will, right? Letters of support, if you will, from industry peers claiming he's a mentor and not a monster. You know what I mean? I think those are some of the things that they might or should be considering to present to the judge and to the court, and evidence of ongoing therapy, charitable donations, and a sudden retreat from public life. I think that's asking a bit too much. Like I said, to ask him not to be himself from that perspective, and it's not, a lot of times it's not even up to him. The paparazzi, they kind of find you wherever you are, running, if you're having dinner somewhere, now you got to run and hide because they coming and they asking you questions, flashballs. Diddy, you have anything to say? You want to say something to Cassie? We've seen it done before a lot. You know what I mean? So once again, but evidence of ongoing therapy, charitable donations, and a sudden retreat from public life is what they might want to present, if you will. But like I said, that's totally up to Diddy from that perspective, right? But the overall goal, I would think, would be to convince the judge that Sean Combs is no longer the man behind the headlines, if you will. And like a lot of times when you see those headlines, a lot of that stuff, when pushed to media, is a marketing campaign done through a PR, if you will, right? You know, your press secretary or whatever. Like a lot of the stuff we see, you know, most people don't know it. Most people think it's just the newspaper picking it up, but a lot of times it's a PR campaign. So, you know, they want to basically show the judge or try to convince the judge that Diddy is no longer the man behind the headlines, you know, but also he wants to show that, you know, they should want to show, or Diddy should want to show that he's a broken, remorseful, a rehabilitated individual who deserves leniency. Like I said, I don't think anybody is beyond redemption. I wouldn't say anybody. There's certain situations, but Diddy, this being his first brush with the law, from that perspective, serious brush with the law. The judge said the reason why he had denied bail based on the violence in which the defense had owned up to. I thought that he should have gotten bail based on the fact that the most serious charges that they charged him with, he was found not guilty of. And so I don't think that, you know, it kind of the appearance of it was that he was still kind of being held based on the serious nature of the charges, even though he wasn't convicted. That's just what it looked like to me. And then the judge made a statement in and around it's impossible for the defendant to show that he won't do anything or be violent in anything other than that, and based on the violence that was on the Cassie tape and the situation that happened with Jane, even though Jane initiated the violence upon Diddy first, that wasn't considered. So I think everything should have been considered, but like I said, at the end of the day, you have to respect the judge's decision as to what he said, right? And his final judgment. Like I said, you know, I think what needs to be emphasized, and this, like I said, this is just my opinion overall. Like I said, when you go in front of a judge and, you know, the judge has your life in his hands, and I wouldn't say life in his hands as if he got convicted of all of the other charges, then that would be something way more serious, right? But like I said, here's what they're not emphasizing, right? We know that Diddy has a number of, right, you know, at least 5 civil lawsuits filed by women alleging the R-word, abuse, and coercion, right? Just civil lawsuits. We've seen some of those women, Brianna, Mia, and Capricorn Clark, testify. Like I think 3 of the 5, if you will, testify that they were suing Diddy for millions of dollars, ladies and gentlemen. And when you think about why they're suing him, a lot of those allegations or accusations were basically unproven in the criminal case. So I don't know how easy it's going to be or likely it's going to be that they were trying to find some kind of way to get a guilty conviction in the civil matter, if you will, right? Also, confidential settlements that raise more questions than they answered, right? In the past, you know, there were settlements and things like that in the past. I don't know if there are any as of late, right? We don't know about that, right? Surveillance equipment and prescription sedatives are found during the raids, right? And reports of non-consensual behavior, grooming, and intimidation tactics spanning decades. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say, like I said once again, a lot of times the headlines don't match up to the facts. So a lot of times with this non-consensual grooming and intimidation tactics and things like that, not to say that they don't happen, but those things have to be proven. You just can't believe because you saw a video of somebody do something one time that, you know, somebody else say something, you know, if you want to believe it, then you can believe it, but that does not make it true. It just simply does not make it true. But I think that's one of the things that the judge might consider, right? But that his defense team is really not emphasizing. Like I said, those are civil matters. And I feel like if any of those had any kind of credibility, I would have thought that the prosecution would have had them come testify like they had Mia, Capricorn Clark, Cassie, Jane, and all of the other people that they had come testify during the criminal trial. So that's why I really don't give any kind of weight to that. Also, the lawsuit that Tony Busby filed, that was eventually dismissed based on the fact that it was to me and to a lot of people and to the courts, it was bogus, along with other things that I don't even wish to speak on in regards to actually filing some of those cases and not being able to practice law in the Southern District of New York. And that's Tony Busby. It came up in court and the judge spoke on that, right? For a lot of people not aware of that though. So, like I said, is it going to be a sincere change from Sean P. Diddy Combs or some kind of strategic performance? Like I said, that's one of the things that you would want to throw out there and say, okay, is he going to be sincere? Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we all make mistakes in our life. Like I said, everybody deserves the benefit of the doubt. Some people don't want to give people the benefit of the doubt because of their own personal reasons, their own personal biases. But like I said, will it be a sincere change or strategic performance? We don't even know. You know what I mean? It's yet to be seen, right? But like I said, it's up to Diddy. It's up to him. So basically, here's the $1 million question, ladies and gentlemen. The $1 million question. Is this man seeking redemption? Is Sean P. Diddy Combs seeking redemption? Or is this another performance from a lifelong showman? Think about that. Is Diddy truly seeking redemption? Or is it another performance from a lifelong showman? It's up to Diddy. It ain't even up to none of us, me or anybody else to judge. Hopefully at this particular point, he will understand his blessings, being away from his family for as long as he's been from his family. So you don't have to do 15, 20 years to get it. You know what I mean? All you got to do is know how important those little things are, like walking to the refrigerator, like going to the bathroom, taking a shower when you want, having your privacy. You know what I mean? Being able to pick up the phone when you want. You know what I mean? Walking around your house, going from mansions to some 10 by 11 cell or some dorm with a whole bunch of other guys. You know what I mean? Sometimes is enough to wake you up and be like, hold on, man, what am I doing? And then all of the other opulence and money and all of the trappings of success that he has is like, dude, you can't drive your cars, you can't take your plane, you can't go on trips, you can't, none of these things that you can do, right? So hopefully, you know what I mean? And that's up to Diddy to be able to see those things and recognize that, right? Basically, Diddy built his career on controlling the narrative, right? Vote or Die, Last Night, Making the Band. He's always been the producers of all of these events, right? He's always been in the producer seat, right? Always been in control. Now when the story turns dark, he's producing a new version of himself, clean cut, remorseful, and therapy bound. Like I said, he said he was seeking therapy even before he had was charged with this situation. And hopefully, like I said, once again, he'll realize a lot of things and kind of, go on, I wouldn't say the straight and narrow, but like I say, understand, hey, you know what, I made some mistakes and I need to do better. Point blank, period. The money, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the money make you worse. You know what I mean? Most people think, well, if I had that kind of, sometimes the money make you worse. It don't make you better. One being a better person is an inner work that you have to do. It's on the inside. It ain't, trappings and things from the outside, women and all of those things. You got to start from the inside out. And then all of the other things that are added to you, are blessings. So you got to know how to handle it. But this isn't a music video, ladies and gentlemen. This is real life. This is not, lights, camera, action. This is not cut, this is federal court. This is federal prison. And so, as of October 3rd, the judge won't be swayed, right, by the image alone. You know what I mean? Like I said, so what Diddy can do right now is, like I said, seek some therapy. I don't know what kind of programs or anything that they got in the MDC, but like I said, he can come, like I said, letters of support, his minister, pastor, people speaking on his behalf will definitely help. And like I said, this is the first time brush with the law. We'll see what happens, man. Like I said, at the end of the day, we've seen moguls fall before, but this one is different. Sean Combs didn't just represent a brand. He represented an era, part of a culture, power, a silence, a spectacle. Now that era is on trial. It's on trial, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, on October 3rd, the court will decide, right? Has he truly changed? Or was this just another remix of the truth? You get it? Or was it just another remix of the truth? Either way, one thing is for sure. The bad boy that Sean Combs claimed that he was and he represented is going to now face the music, and hopefully it turns out to be a song that he loves to hear and that he can live with for the rest of his life. And like I said, and become a better individual. Like I said, it's a lot of people that then, fell, you know what I mean? Got up, redeemed themselves. Like I said, even Tupac got back up, redeemed himself, came and sold millions of records. I'm not saying that Diddy gonna do that, but everybody has their own path, if you will. Everybody has their own path. And like I said, so we're gonna wait and see what happens, man. Stay tuned. You know what I mean? Your boy DELRAY. Ladies and gentlemen, straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.